This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. COVID Task Force pushes for clear and relatable vaccine information to improve uptake. The National COVID-19 Vaccination Operationalization Task Force has suggested that the Ministry of Health provide clear and relatable information to the public on the COVID-19 vaccine, which it hopes will improve take-up of the medicine. With just 13% of the population fully vaccinated, Jamaica is grappling with a low rate of vaccination and an apparent hesitancy among citizens to take the jab. The Professor Gordon Shirley-led task force was appointed last month to provide the government with recommendations to improve the COVID-19 vaccination program. It has submitted a report. Speaking at a media briefing on Wednesday, Professor Shirley urged the government to listen more carefully to the various concerns of different groups of Jamaicans and respond to their needs.
We need to listen more carefully to the various concerns of different groups of Jamaicans. We need to respond to their needs. We need to understand where there are gaps in the information available to them that leads them to be uncertain and unsure. We need to understand the barriers and motivation, and we need to understand their preferences for the channels through which they get their information. We need to give clear information for informed decisions, delivered in a relatable language and using trusted voices. The best way to do that, they are healthcare workers, is to get gynecologists who they trust, to explain to them in terms that they will understand what are the issues and what are the risks associated with that. Others worry about the implication for their various other illnesses. What we think we need are specialists who will speak to them both in large groups as well as in smaller groups and on a personal basis about these problems to get them to move along. We cannot continue to allow them to put their lives on the line and not do the best we can to protect them. After a sufficient period, we believe, of effort, we believe that we have to implement a vaccinate or test program for the healthcare workers and the nurses. We believe that the government should support the cost of testing for a few weeks, after which the healthcare workers will have to assume the cost for doing it themselves.
2 presumed dead following crash in Mandeville. 2 men are presumed dead following a crash on the Winston Jones Highway in the vicinity of Marshall's Pen Wednesday evening. Reports are that about 6 p.m. a Honda CR-V motor car collided with a truck, resulting in the men being injured. Up to press time, the bodies of the men remained on the roadway after being extricated from the mangled Honda CR-V by firefighters. Police cordoned off the roadway, which is a crucial thoroughfare linking Mandeville and its environs to Point West. Over 6,000 calls to 211 child abuse helpline, said Morgan. State Minister in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Morgan, says that the 211 child abuse helpline, launched in September, is yielding results. He noted that children as well as concerned members of the public have been reporting incidents of abuse through this medium. Since the launch of 211 in September, we have received over 6,000 calls to the hotline, many of them children who have been abused and many adults who have either heard of or seen abuse, he said. The state minister was speaking at the official launch of the Optimist International Caribbean District's flagship project, Mentorship for At-Risk Youth, on Wednesday at the YMCA in St. Andrew. The 24-hour child abuse helpline can be dialed from a cellular or landline telephone free of cost. It replaces 888-PROTECT. It is operated by trained officers from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency through the National Children's Registry. Morgan said that the 211 helpline forms part of strategic efforts by the ministry to empower youth to protect themselves by reporting incidents of child abuse that they may face, while at the same time reducing the incidence of violence against them. Other initiatives in this regard include an amendment to the Child Care and Protection Act to involve the repeal Section 24, which gives discretion to judges to incarcerate children without charge in penal institutions, as well as a total ban on corporal punishment. The ban, Morgan said, will be preceded by a public education campaign through the ministry's Good Parenting initiative. We want to break the culture that responds to every infraction or act of indiscipline or conflict with violence, he pointed out. Face-to-face classes to resume next month. The government has announced the resumption of face-to-face classes for some students on November 8th. Prime Minister Andrew Holness told the House of Representatives on Tuesday evening that 376 of the country's 759 primary schools will resume face-to-face classes on that date.
Across the 376 schools that will be allowed back into the face-to-face classroom, in this phase, there are 45,390 students and approximately 2,520 teachers. Additionally, these students will have administrative personnel working in these schools will have administrative personnel working in the school environment. All adults, principals, vice principals, teachers, staff, and others are advised to be vaccinated if they have not already done so. We have granted permission for the grades 11 to 13 students to be engaged in limited face-to-face activities to include preparation and completion of labs and practical assignments and all activities attendant to the registration for their external examinations. These will be done in small groups using a rotation schedule as guided by the COVID-19 protocols. Madam Speaker, these activities are time-bound and had to be allowed. There is a legal and scientific basis for the protection of personal and public health that the vaccinated and the unvaccinated can be treated with some difference. But still, provisions must be made for the unvaccinated to get their opportunity for education. So it is not about depriving anyone of education. It is about protecting public health. What we are doing is trying to manage the risk. What is the risk of our students staying out much longer and the risk of the rise in numbers? There's no perfect and easy solution. So we believe we can manage the risk of outbreak by strategically allowing some children to go back and putting in place a measure that allows vaccinated students where vaccines are accessible. That is also a method of managing the risk of outbreaks.
Pathways member charged with murder says he's unable to afford lawyer. Andre Ruddock, the member of the Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries charged with murder, will be assigned legal aid after he declared in court that he was unable to afford a lawyer. Ruddock appeared before Justice Vinnet Graham Allen in the Home Circuit Court in Kingston on Wednesday. The matter was put off until next week, Wednesday, November 3, as he had no legal representation. Ruddock answered no when asked by Justice Graham Allen whether he could afford an attorney and requested that a lawyer be provided for him through legal aid. Senior counsel Venice Brown, who was in court, made a request and was granted permission to represent Ruddock. Justice Graham Allen, however, advised Ruddock that she is requesting from the Legal Aid Council a more senior lawyer partner with Brown for the trial. Director of Public Prosecution Paula Llewellyn represented the prosecution. Ruddock is accused of the murder of 39-year-old office worker Tanika Gordon on Sunday, October 17. Gordon and an unidentified man had their throats slashed. The allegations are that they were sacrificed in a cult-like ritual. Several other members at the event were also injured. Ruddock was expected to be tried with the pastor of the church, Dr. Kevin Smith. Smith, however, died in a car accident on Monday while being transferred from Montego Bay to Kingston. Caribbean Airlines to resume direct flights to Jamaica. The Trinidad-based Caribbean Airlines Wednesday said it will resume direct flights to Jamaica following the lifting of the travel restrictions that had been imposed between the two countries as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Caribbean Airlines said that the service would resume from December 1 and that the flights are timed to facilitate same-day onward connections to Nassau, Bahamas, and other destinations. According to Caribbean Airlines, the flights BW414 will operate on Wednesday and Friday mornings, with BW415 taking place in the evening on a Wednesday. The airline said flight BW417 will leave Kingston for Port of Spain on a Friday evening. The airline also announced that BW414 will depart from Kingston to Nassau on a Wednesday, with the Nassau to Kingston BW415 will take place on Wednesday afternoons. Caribbean Airlines also announced that its services between Port of Spain and Jamaica to St. Martin will resume on December 11, 2021. The airline urged passengers to use its website to verify entry requirements and other important travel information for any destination, as well as to make appointments for COVID-19 tests. Customers are asked to kindly note that travel safety protocols are in place, including the mandatory wearing of face masks during check-in, while boarding and for the duration of their flight, Caribbean Airlines added. 25-year-old man killed during gun battle between cops and gunmen in St. Thomas. A man was fatally shot on Wednesday during a confrontation between members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the gunmen in Seaford, St. Thomas. Dead is 25-year-old Dwayne Gordon, also from Seaford in the parish. Preliminary reports suggest that sometime after 12 p.m., a group of men allegedly opened gunfire at the police, who took evasive action and returned the fire. During the crossfire, Gordon was reportedly hit. He was assisted to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. It is not immediately clear whether Gordon was among the group of gunmen who had allegedly engaged the police in the shootout. The Independent Commission of Investigations has been notified of the incident. Firearms seized after police chase in Mandeville. 3 gunmen escape, 4th man arrested. 3 gunmen managed to elude the police following a chase in Mandeville, which also resulted in a firearm being seized Wednesday afternoon. Head of the Manchester Police, Superintendent Lloyd Darby, told the news that the men were aboard a white motorcar traveling near the New Green roundabout in a manner that aroused the suspicion when they saw the police. Darby said a patrol team saw the vehicle at the roundabout sometime after 3 p.m. The police turned around in the road and chased the car, said Darby. The men eluded the patrol team in traffic before being later spotted by a second patrol team in the town of Mandeville on Caledonia Road in the vicinity of Elite Mall. Another unit saw the vehicle and turned around. The vehicle sped away. The men jumped out and left the vehicle and eluded the police, said Darby. Following a search of the vehicle, a firearm was seized. An eyewitness told the news that he saw men carrying what appeared to be firearms when they alighted from the vehicle. A 4th man was arrested as the police believed he deliberately blocked their interception of the vehicle. There was a second vehicle that the police believe prevented them from intercepting the first vehicle, so we have that man for questioning, said Darby. Don't differentiate between vaxxed and unvaxxed Jamaicans, Golding cautions. Opposition leader Mark Golding has cautioned the Prime Minister Andrew Holness against differentiating between Jamaicans who have taken the COVID-19 vaccine and those who have not. Golding's caution in the House of Representatives on Tuesday came as he responded to a presentation from the Prime Minister during which Holness outlined new COVID-19 protocols. Among the new measures announced by Holness to limit the spread of the novel coronavirus on the island is a stipulation that only persons who have been vaccinated be invited to events hosted by public entities. Holness said individuals organizing these functions must ensure that the invitees are inoculated against COVID-19. However, that requirement did not sit well with Golding. Prime Minister, I notice that you are speaking the language now of differentiation going forward, differentiation between vaccinated and unvaccinated persons in terms of access, Golding stated. I think that with the numbers of vaccinated people so low, before we go that route, we need to try and get those numbers up by improving the distribution system and getting the message about the benefits of the vaccine carried as much as possible by persons who will be listened to, he added. He reiterated that politicians are not the best suited to deliver the vaccine message and reminded that he had cautioned against the Prime Minister embarking on a vaccination tour. I think that the idea of differentiation where you have over 85% of the population not fully vaxxed is itself likely to be difficult for those people to accept. So while there may be a place for that at the right time, I believe we have to be strategic as to how and when we rolled that out, Golden argued. He insisted that we must try to get those numbers up substantially first. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.